This is the One Way's first podcast on insights on the UK construction industry and recruitment. So today we've got Mark White, Managing Director for Bargate Homes.
Hello, Paul.
And of Bradley Strickland, of Manager of One Way. Let's get talking then. Current trends and challenges in the construction industry, Mark.
Well, current trends, if you're an SME stroke regional builder like us, you've got to start as a retail outlet philosophy to go, what do the customers want?
Yeah. If
we can then look at the market and be very flexible to go, okay, at the moment it's family housing and people are really into their open plan living, then you've got to be able to sort of design and build houses in that same sort of vein. But you then need the flexibility because our market changes quite rapidly.
With house building, for example, the government talks about like policies and the amount of houses needed and stuff and where we're short and whatever. Do they historically drive the type of build that's needed? Do you guys go and buy land and plan and design what it is you want to build as a builder, or do you go and look at what it is they need and build for them to sell it?
No, we have a business model that works for us that says that you know, UK, Hampshire, family housing, go and find the sites to do that. So we try and keep out of town centres, Southampton, Portsmouth, Bournemouth, etc. You want to be, as our style of a developer, you want to be rural, you want to have access to large towns, access to the motorways, and then you then want houses that people are going to, you know, come and buy and live in. So it's a community-led thing.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Bargate predominantly build for the likes of Vivid and people like that? Like, what is the business model? For anyone watching who doesn't know what the Bargate model is.
Anyone watching, Bargate, we are a residential house builder that happens to be owned by a housing association. So we are independent. We go off and build private houses. Within the planning process, we have to build a proportion of social houses, and those social houses are bought by Vivid and then taken on to the social world after that. It's very
is there a big need for social housing? Is that kind of is that a big part of what's needed in the UK right now, do you think?
Hugely. If you're of an age that's certainly under 30 and you're living at home at the moment, how are you going to get on the property market?
Yeah.
Your first time buyer mortgages are very difficult to get hold of without having a big deposit. If you haven't got a big deposit and you haven't got help to buy, which we had the access to for quite a few years, you either got to go renting or you've got the bank of mum and dad.
Yeah, right. And with like the Vivid, with that stuff and that, is that where you can rent a bit off and buy a bit? And
so Vivid would do affordable rent, social rent. So that's your normal, what used to be when I was growing up, council housing.
Right.
And then the shared ownership model is you both own a proportion of it.
Yeah.
You pay a mortgage on the proportion you own, you pay rent on the proportion that Vivid own.
Yeah.
But what that does is that when you come to sell the house, so if you own, say, 60% of the house, when you come to sell it, you take 60% of the overall profit of it.
So you get to share the equity in the uplift. That sounds quite good though, doesn't it?
It's a very good way.
With COVID and stuff, did you notice a massive increase in like material products? Did that affect how you price for things and stuff? Because I had some clients telling me that stuff had gone up 10, 15, 20, 25% on materials and stuff.
It is going up, and it's continuing to go up. It's not just COVID, it's Brexit, it's the war in Ukraine. The cost of living is affecting the material prices, the supply of the materials as well, where Brexit has certainly moved the labour force back to Europe that were able to come in, certainly with a lot of the nationals. Sort of around London where the labour was a lot cheaper. What we're now finding is where the labour's not there, the labour from Hampshire's happy to drive up because the money's going to be that much better. Then the need for materials is where people have accelerated post-COVID.
Do you think it will stabilise and come back down, or do you think it's going to stay at that price? Or
I think that we are getting into a better position, but there's a lot of people that have used post-COVID as many excuses as they can to put the price up.
Do you think?
So the war in Ukraine and the fuel prices is also hiding some of the losses that were made during the COVID times and post-COVID.
If you're pricing to build a house at a price and you buy a plot of land and then you build the house based on you put a square footage price to that property, right, based on the prices that you were paying.
Yeah.
If then that price goes up, do you absorb that cost, or do you have to pass it on to the end?
No, you absorb it, because the other way goes.
So people don't see an overinflated first time, like a new house build price. Then it hasn't like they've gone up 30% because material prices have increased, for example.
No, house prices are set by the supply and demand curve.
Yeah.
So
so even if you're paying X amount for timber, and your margin shrinks, your margin has to shrink. You don't pass it on, because if the people aren't buying it, you still need to sell the units, I suppose.
You can try to. If you've got someone that's already reserved or exchanged, then you're into nowhere. What a lot of the nationals are doing are releasing in phases. So then phase 2 can be 5, 10, £20,000 more for the same house type. We will also work the other way. So we've got to remember as an industry that when we've had house price inflations and materials and labour's been the same price, we've had the cream out of that. So you've got to sometimes have a bit of
you've got to take the rough with the smooth.
You've got to have an adult conversation at board level that says, for the last 5 years, we've actually made a lot of extra profit out of inflation rises in house prices without having to spend the money.
As a business, are you taking a different stance on your build timelines and stuff, or are you still building stuff at the same pace, or...
I have a field of dreams attitude towards it. Build it and they will come.
Kevin Costner.
Yeah, very much. For us, is come the summer when interest rates either slow down, the demand's better. If you haven't got a product to sell, you're sat with nothing.
Have you been around one of their houses?
My Mrs. Old Man actually bought a Bargate home.
Oh, really?
In Bishopswaltham.
Yep.
It was absolutely gorgeous, and one of the best things about it is, on like a plot of land behind you can't actually build. That's
Bishop's Meadow. There's a very large acreage of open space that is given back to the parish, which will never be built on. So you get access to look across all the fields over to Bishopswaltham.
Well, and he's bought one of those, has he?
Yeah, literally they bought.
Lovely.
They bought one down. They moved in just before Christmas. But yeah, it's lovely because, like you say, you can go on walks, and right out the back you've got a field which...
Yeah, you've got access to the South Downs.
How do you think the rise in technology has affected the construction industry?
It's going to be a big bonus for us. We've got to get out of the old mindset of traditional house builders don't just have to do traditional things. The use of technology, the use of iPads, etc. on site for the guys to be able to have the drawings in the plots with them, or iPhones, whichever way they want to do it. We've got to start actually trying to give the guys as many tools as possible to make money and build efficiently. So there is a lot of innovations that are coming through modern methods of construction where it's all off-site. You can take some of those and use them on-site. So, for example, if you've got a floor-to-ceiling height of 2.5, 2.6 metres, at the moment plasterboard's only done in 2.4 or 2.7. So you've got a lot of waste. So what we need to be doing as an industry is actually looking at how we're building, using technology to be able to have cut lists. So either get the plasterboard pre-cut and come in, still the same method.
Could you not just build it taller?
Well, unfortunately, it would be lovely to, but by the time the planners have been involved and set a ridge height for you, so that all the neighbouring houses don't get towered over by these lovely.
Someone's got
buildings.
a window looking somewhere. So I've got two questions for you. So the first one is going back to the health and safety thing with the barcodes. So when your guys, one of the biggest issues we have as a recruitment business is sometimes you send operatives to site, and for whatever reason they just leave.
Yeah.
Could be anything. Could be a genuine reason. Could just be that they just weren't interested. And we always say to people, if you leave site, you need to let us know, purely from a health and safety point. Because if something happened on site and then everyone's sending in the fire brigade or someone to put them at risk, we don't know that you're there. We don't know that you're safe and well. So we need you to communicate that. When they're on your sites with the QR codes and stuff, do they physically have to scan out, or could they still exit the site without telling anyone?
Unfortunately, they can still exit. But what will happen in... our production director gets an email at the end of every day who's not signed out.
Yeah.
So if you see a pattern of it, then you then have to
go and flag it and say, Johnny or Jane's been disappearing here, there and everywhere.
The only way you'll be able to do it properly is at the gates you have a punch in and punch out.
I say a lot of main contracting projects, especially around London, I would imagine it's just for security as much as anything. They've got the turnstiles, haven't they, with the scanning and the QR or your CSCS card or whatever.
And that's good when you do it on scale.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to build, and so if I don't sit here as Bargate, sit here as a new homes developer. If I'm building 20 houses and I've got to go and spend £10,000 on a turnstile system, suddenly that gets passed along the line to somewhere.
Yeah, the cost goes there.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do with technology is have a midpoint with it. That you scan the QR code in. It's your responsibility to log out at the end of it. And our production director sends your boss a very, very nice email at 10 o'clock at night going, you've either got 20 guys still in there or they've not signed out.
Yeah.
And,
you can manage it that way through training and management and stuff. Maybe have a toolbox talk, tell people the importance of what they need to do and stuff.
And explain to them that, if there had been a fire, we could have lost, anyone from the fire brigade because they were searching the whole building
for someone that was never there.
Yeah.
That's the issue that we always have. That's what we're always telling our guys, isn't it, or our people, should I say. And then the other one was when you were talking about materials. I'm thinking of like the restaurant industry, for example, and particularly like retail shops and stuff. Now when you buy stuff, they scan it and they take it off the stock control. Can you see the construction industry going that way, with every brick that you lay is accounted for, rather than maybe someone on the weekend turning up and putting a kitchen and a bathroom in their car and driving off?
I think the technologies never will get there, because unless you're scanning every brick and you're doing it, I think what we do need to get better at is stock control on site, because there still is, when there's a cost of living crisis, wastage and theft. There's quite a lot of guys that have probably over the last 30 or 40 years had extensions built out of very slowly sort of taking materials off site.
There was a guy, I remember here, I'd have to go and check my facts, but there was a guy a few years ago, I think it was it might have been on social media, so you'll take it with a pinch of salt, but there was a guy that actually worked for Rolls-Royce. Did you hear this? And he was there from he's joined the company in like 1970 or something, and every week or every day he took a piece of Rolls-Royce home, like a bolt and a wheel and a thing, and he ended up building his own Rolls-Royce in his garage.
I can imagine, it takes us 32 weeks to build a house. That would take someone a long time to take materials off.
Yeah, and where do you think though, so say the last 10, 15 years, where we are now from where we were then, obviously technology's changed a lot. Like you say, iPad's been brought on, all that sort of stuff. Where do you think in that sort of, let's say 15 years, where do you think the construction industry, where do you think technology can be brought into that?
I think technology is going to be more used for the end user. So we will get to a point similar to an office situation. You walk in the door and the lights will turn on when you're in each room. The heating will, already can work out what your patterns are, but it will get better and better. And actually, AI will understand how you live and will help you be a lot more efficient with electricity, gas. So the Future Home Standard means that from 2025 we can't put gas into new build houses. So you will end up with
can't put gas.
No, they class it as a dirty energy. So it will end up being, with all the gas boilers that are being manufactured, they're probably going to find a way to convert them to hydrogen.
Oh God, it's interesting.
All I'm thinking, as Mark was talking about, is lights turning on in the houses. Was I'd gone to Back to the Future 2 and I was at Marty McFly's home in, was it Hilldale, Hill Valley?
And that,
Hill Valley,
a lot of
wasn't it?
stuff that like that will actually help people live more efficiently.
I just can't see how they can come away. A hydrogen I can see, but like not going fully electric.
No,
just knowing what we know so far, I can't see how it would work. I mean, I know a guy that develops himself. He does sort of 4 or 5 units per plot that he buys. And the other day I saw a build that he did, and on the side of his house he had what looked like a giant condenser or an air conditioning unit, which apparently is now part of...
That's the air source heat pump, yeah.
What's the point of them, Mark?
They are efficient. So what they do is they take 1 kilowatt of electric energy and give you 3 kilowatts of heat.
Right. So we use them in like underfloor heating or radiators or anything?
Basically, you can do your heating and hot water off of them. They work better with underfloor heating because the temperature that it will get to, it works efficiently at about 55 degrees. Gas used to work about 65 degrees.
Right.
So you really need to get it to work smarter. What you then do with air source heat pump is once you've got your heating up and running, you let it trickle.
Yeah.
So the old days, what we'd do is you'd walk indoors, you'd turn your thermostat up like you would an accelerator, and 10 minutes later the house was hot. What you need to do with air source heat pumps is actually keep the temperature at 18 degrees.
A static number and just trickling all day.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound energy efficient, does it? But
it does, because if you imagine if you're driving along the motorway,
Yeah.
you're doing 55 miles an hour because you're a good, sensible person, obviously. You get to the end of the journey, how much fuel have you used? Or if you drive like you...
Not me, it's this one over here, mate. I'm all right. I'm electric. I can't drive any more than 55 miles an hour.
No, but if you drive and put your foot down, you are burning so much more fuel because you're going from a slower speed to a high speed very quickly.
So it's injecting it.
So it works the same with gas. So when you turn your gas boiler up, it's trying to heat the water from, say, 20 degrees up to 65 degrees. It takes a lot of energy. If your water's already at 50 degrees and you want to go to 55, energy is less. The biggest challenge is we're trying to get new build housing ahead of old stock housing. And by the sounds of it, you would automatically go to old stock housing. So you've then got a smaller pool that you're actually trying to appeal to. And then within that, you've got people that are quite traditional, do want a gas boiler, don't understand the new technologies, therefore shy away from it.
Yeah.
So, Mark, what role is sustainability playing in construction at the moment?
At the moment, sustainability is probably one of the biggest buzzwords for consumers. There is huge shift around being more energy efficient. So sustainability should mean about producing your own energy as much as you can. So we use photovoltaic cells on the roof. That then generates electricity from the sun that sits and goes straight into your electricity supply. Now, if you're generating more than you need, then there's a surplus. Back in, I should imagine, 10 years ago, that surplus was going back up the grid and you were getting 10p
money for it. I remember.
That's now cut. So what you really need to be doing is getting battery backup power so that it stores it, then at 3 o'clock in the morning when your immersion heater comes on or whatever comes on, you're then using your own free energy. But within that, you then need to have the house being energy efficient.
Yeah. The only thing I would say about that, and I think it's all really good and really admirable, is that all of that stuff has a cost to it, right? If someone wants to go and get an energy efficient washing machine, it's brand new money. They're going to be into a few £100 or TV or lights and stuff. So actually, to all intents and purposes, people with money, by all accounts, we're going to be able to save money because they can buy the stuff, and it's those that haven't got the money are going to be using their outdated. It's a tough one, isn't it? And I suppose it's just about getting into the housing market and creating that sustainability, yeah. Because at some point they're going to hopefully get into those properties and get those bits of kit, right?
So the best way of doing that is you buy a new build house. You don't go and buy an old house, so it's more energy efficient. Has
your house got technology in it? Because yours is new, isn't it?
Yeah, we got like solar panels.
Have you?
Yeah.
What, on the roof? Do you have to go up and polish them and stuff? I don't know.
Turn them on every morning.
We were supplying to a client back then, and because the farmers, it went mad. Farmers all of a sudden started turning their fields into solar panel fields because the government had this fixed amount of money they were giving people back, so people were just turning their fields into cash. But we were supplying a Chinese company. Basically, what they did is they made, so when you go into B&Q and you buy like the flower pots with the lights on with the little solar panel, they used to manufacture them, and it was basically a company that Mike Ward knew, and it was one of his contacts, and basically they won the contract somehow. I'm not sure the full details, but they basically designed a solar panel that would work in the UK. So it's it allows to feed through the clouds basically and give the power, and we ended up supplying the team to install solar panels. So people like IKEA and stuff, when they were building in their car parks, they had these flat roof car parks, and they were putting solar panels on the flat roofs to generate energy for the store, and then they were selling an element of it back to the grid at the time because they were getting so much money for it. So it was like all of a sudden you could just turn your roof into cash, you know. But that doesn't happen anymore. You store it, right, and it stays overnight.
Well, if you pay for the battery, but battery technology is a bit like your electric car.
Is it?
It's improving,
yeah,
but it is also expensive. So I think batteries are now probably about £3,500 each.
Oh wow!
So you really need to have a big commitment.
Yeah.
That's where we need technology to move forward. We need prices to come down.
I'd say more that's done,
and
cost to market would be better.
And if every house builder put batteries in now, there wouldn't be actually the supply to be able to do it.
You got electric charging station?
No.
You just got the solar panels on the roof.
Yeah, that's it.
Do you have to maintain them, or are they warranted?
No, to be honest, I don't even know.
You forgot they were there.
I don't even know what they do. Yeah.
So does that mean you get a cheaper electric bill?
I guess so.
You haven't got any gas?
Well, we've got gas in that, but
okay.
got that as well.
The idea is that going forward, where there's not going to be any gas, that's where you really need to store your own electricity and batteries.
I'm just waiting for the moment when we go full hydrogen, and then they tell us that we've run out of water, and they're going to have to put the water prices up for the hydrogen.
Wow. I think hydrogen will be a big use in the future. It just is making sure that the public understand.
It's going to be better than it will be better than electric, I think, because with electric, being an electric car owner, rather than doing 200 miles and having to worry about being sat in a charging station for 2 hours, the theory is you can just fill it up like a normal petrol car and keep going.
So a lot of the old gas boilers and that should be able to be converted going forward as well
To hydrogen.
Yeah.
Amazing.